Welcome to Innovation Alchemy. My name is Adam Castle. I am your host, and this is the podcast that explores the magic, the mess, and the mastery of innovation and those who are bold enough and brave enough to build it. Now, before we get started today, I want to give a shout out to our amazing producer, John, and the team at Clear Rock. If you've been following along with the podcast these last few years, Clear Rock Studios in Windsor has been making us sound good and maybe look good for over the last couple of years, and we are so grateful to have them on their team. Now, this series of podcasts and this episode that you're about to watch today is part of a series that focuses in on our annual ScaleUP Accelerator. The ScaleUP Accelerator brought to you by the Government of Ontario and Libro Credit Union, as well as FedDev Ontario. Now, ScaleUP is a 6-month accelerator program that focuses on companies that are in that sweet spot going from 0 to 1. And so a lot of the questions today are going to be around that 0 to 1 phase. And you might be asking, what in the heck is 0 to 1? And I'm very glad you asked, because 0 to 1 is that point where a business goes from idea to impact. It starts to have real things like real customers, real challenges, and real constraints. And so when we're talking to these startups, they're at that point where real is becoming really tough. And so we're really excited to have these conversations today to dive into that very specific stage in a startup life cycle and have you learn along with us. So thank you so much and enjoy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me for this conversation in our series interviewing the ScaleUp participants for this year is Kyla Bardwell and Julie Edwards. Both of you, thank you so much for joining me. And Kyla and Julie are here from Storefront Stays.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's level set. The state of retail right now is increasingly becoming a playground for monopolies. Where many people see a industry in decline, you two see this amazing opportunity. And we know from tons of different research sources that places in our communities like small retail shops are so important. They're a place to connect and a place to be and a place to bring people together. And you saw this as an opportunity. So I'm curious, what is Storefront Stays? What problem are you trying to solve? And why did you decide that it was so worth solving now?
Yeah, so Storefront Stays is a platform that connects small businesses with brick and mortar locations, venue space that have idle resources like empty corners, slow days. It allows them to activate their space by bringing in those in most need, like micro businesses that don't have established visibility, that don't have the resources to gain their own space, but allows them to activate the space that's already available and create that secondary revenue stream for the storefront. We see a lot of storefronts, they only last between 5 years, even maybe underneath 5 years. 1 in 5 businesses, I think, is the stat that don't go beyond 5 years. And we want to change that. We want to give them a secondary audience that they can target to last a bit longer. But we need short-term, low-risk ways to do that. And that's what we're hoping Storefront Stays is.
I just love that. You mentioned micro business, but there's really nothing micro about them.
No, the responsibilities are just as macro as the storefronts for sure. Again, it's a lot to facilitate for a micro business. They have a lot on their plate already, and sometimes it's picking up the phone. Picking up the phone is just a challenge, right? We talked a lot about in initial discussions about newcomers, right? Mm-hmm. Specifically that group, they have their own set of challenges when they're business owners in a new market, and platforms like this really help micro businesses connect and put their business on standby for small businesses to see by listing on Storefront Stays.
They have a lot of opportunity too, not only as a vehicle to help, provide people with a lifestyle that is, sometimes beyond the means that they currently have, but it also provides something really important to the community by giving people a place to be, a place to, connect with potential customers without, as you said, the risk of taking on a brick and mortar yourself or spending all kinds of crazy money on marketing from an online shopping perspective. And so it's just so cool to see. Why did you two decide to see retail differently?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So both Kyla and I have been entrepreneurs for pretty much our whole lives. And we know that 1 in 4 Canadians right now have a micro business. Yeah. So it's expanding, and there's not a ton of services out there that support micro businesses. tangible services like, for example, providing them a space. When we started seeing some of the retail businesses around us closing, we started asking why. And as entrepreneurs who are naturally curious, we did data collection. We figured out that essentially, you can't add more hours to a day. A lot of the entrepreneurs that we work with who have storefronts, they have fixed costs.
Yep.
And there's no ways to bring in additional revenue without also bringing in additional expenses. And considering that they don't have the time to manage both, we saw an opportunity to create a new revenue model for them and a secondary audience who their business isn't servicing, which is those micro businesses.
I love that. And I love that it kind of expands on what they're already doing without adding this additional burden. So how does your platform reduce the risk for those micro businesses that otherwise wouldn't have the chance to display this?
Absolutely. So we see a lot of these micro businesses, they're on fragmented channels. So we have a lot of people that are on WhatsApp promoting their business, a lot of people on Facebook, a lot of people on Instagram. But that's often hard for, storefronts that are looking to source people for them to find. So we give them a platform that brings these people together and allows them this certain level of professional perception to people that are looking to bring them in.
Yeah, it gives them back the control, right? They can, rather than being, told that the market is this date and this time, they have the ability to look at different businesses throughout Windsor, Essex, or even abroad and say, hey, listen, this is where I want to hold my pop-up. It aligns with my values and the reason why I'm launching this product, and gets them into an actual physical storefront. We also suspect that once pop-ups start happening within storefronts, it's natural that there's a human connection and potentially an opportunity to have your product carried there as well.
Absolutely.
I love that point about connection, because the state of retail now, it's very click and see you later. It's very wait for a truck to pull up at my house, drop off a box, and I never have to engage with another human being. But something is clearly lost in that. And so what role does connection play in getting the state of retail back to a place where it puts humans back at the center of it?
With micro businesses, their main platform for selling right now is actually on Etsy or on the online.
Right.
And when it is online, you miss that opportunity to actually tell your story and about your product and engage your audience, which then results in lower sales.
Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping to do, is bring back connection to retail. With the tariff war and everything happening in terms of our economy, we're seeing that people want to shop local. They're just not having the chances to do so.
Yeah.
So even in a recent study, it said that 77% of Canadians were willing to pay more for Canadian products. Now, where do they get those Canadian products? Right? So let's provide them that opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I find there needs to be local visibility for local products. It's during COVID, during the pandemic, we had this huge shift online, right? People couldn't go into brick and mortar stores. And so we made this massive conscious effort to get everything online so that everything could be ordered. But what I found was what gets lost in that process is the differentiator. If I'm a small artisan or a small business that's just kind of starting out, I don't have that opportunity to show the world why I'm different. And if I can't do that, then as a consumer, I'm going to go for the product that has, potentially the lowest cost to me. And so that makes me drift to those big monopoly type stores that, doesn't really have a soul, but certainly has an impact on my wallet, versus knowing a story, being able to see that differentiator and kind of being able to connect with it that much easier. So when you look at those types of companies, you're providing them with connection. What other things does this platform provide that they need to kind of start and scale?
One of the cool things that the company provides is that we're opening up an entirely new revenue stream for brick and mortar businesses. They're not servicing this market now.
Right.
So they have these idle spaces from days that they're not working. So let's say a business is closed on Sundays and Mondays. They still pay rent. They still pay their mortgage. We're giving them the opportunity to actually list that space and fill it. So that's one of the biggest gaps that we're filling to sustain small retail in communities like Windsor, Essex across Canada.
That's amazing. Now, I know that this business has come with a lot of amazing partnerships for you. What are some of the unexpected partnerships that have come out of this that you're most excited about?
We met the Pop Yard, and they are a group of ladies. They're a duo like us, and we met with them, and instantly it was a connection. They were the missing piece to our business model. And even today, we got such a beautiful email from them. Knowing these ladies only 2 months, they're like, hey, best of luck today. We hope it goes amazing. I know, it's nice to see women supporting women. But they were a missing piece because we excelled, and we're excelling at finding storefronts that want to activate their space. But now it's reaching those makers, artists, entrepreneurs, and instructors that want to use this space. And there's many of them. I think the stat was 6,000 makers, artists, entrepreneurs, and instructors just in the Windsor-Essex area. Well, these ladies, that's what they focus on. So they focus on finding space for these people that want selling opportunities. They work with, I want to say it's the Brazilian community. And again, they seen that most of these entrepreneurs were on WhatsApp. And again, newcomers, so they didn't know, what their product's worth and how to test it and where it's available. Our platform solves that need. Our platform gives them opportunities at their fingertips. Our platform allows them to test the ideas. And if you went to one market and you were selling your product, selling your soap for, $7 and it didn't sell well, it's just an opportunity to go book another storefront and try it again for a different price point. So it gives them that ability to really test their product in a real world market with feedback, like you said, from the customers live.
How do you envision this at like a global scale? You're conquering Windsor-Essex right now, but clearly there's a ton of demand for this. And retail is not just here, it's across Canada, it's across the world. Yeah. What does that look like for the both of you when this thing comes to full fruition?
We're hoping to connect with the economic development centers. We've been surrounded with tons of amazing organizations, WEtech being one of them, that are looking to support these different user groups, but have main functions or main operations that don't allow them to focus necessarily in this area. So we saw a gap, and we're looking to connect with the WEtechs of the globe, and we're looking to connect with, again, the economic development centers in different municipalities to show them the potential. And it may not be for everyone. Yeah. Again, Toronto, the major metropolitan areas, we have competitors that are operating there. Sure, yeah. But we want, and we built this platform to activate small communities like Windsor. This is definitely a passion project. This isn't something that we wanted to make millions off of. We wanted to make it accessible for economic development centers and economies that needed, this type of impact.
Yeah, as someone who is such an economic development nerd, I think that's so important. A lot of the time, I think we as practitioners of this work think that there needs to be a top-down approach to solving some of the biggest challenges. But what I've seen, the creative, the small, the grassroots types of initiatives are often the most effective because you already have this built-in trust with that small business community. They already know that you've been in their shoes and that you've walked those miles. And so you have an understanding of just how hard it is to start a micro business, to get into retail locations and to get a spotlight on a product that, especially for these micro businesses, you may have spent countless hours creating and curating and working on. And so I love that vision. And if there's anything that we can do to continue to help and support it, as you know, WEtech's got, a network right across Canada. And so we're happy to make those connections for you. And I'm happy personally to make those connections because I think what you're doing is really, really special. So this program ends. Of course, we just discussed, WEtech does not. We're still going to be here supporting you and along for this journey. But I'm curious in terms of what you're seeing from your business, from a clarity perspective, what feels more stable, more secure, more clear as you're leaving the program? Although, of course, we still have our pitch. But what feels more clear going out of the programmatic part of this than when you joined it in the first place?
Good question. I think out of the gates, we had, so as Kyla mentioned, initially our objective was never to get rich off of this. Our objective was truly to make it easier for small and micro businesses to integrate into small and micro businesses. Our objective really, we talked about people who have full-on 9-to-5s, but who are also looking to supplement their income due to rising cost and the job market being as it is. The program pushed us to look at our revenue model to ensure that it's sustainable. Yep. That is probably the most impactful thing that we've taken from this. Also a bit of positioning as well. And we both come from a not-for-profit educational sector background, so our hearts lead there. Whereas WEtech was like, wait a minute, there's money on the table, kids.
Yeah. No, and even with the growth coaches that you've connected us with throughout the program, just getting their insight, right? They all have their different expertise. And again, shout out to Karen, shout out to Camille, shout out to Colin that wasn't even our growth coach.
Don't forget Susanna.
Susanna's growth coach, but yes, you know, just the insight they were able to bring. Again, we've learned more and more from every activation. We learn more and more from every discussion, and it's motivating. Again, when you're seeing the money come in slowly, you'd still need a motivator, right? And the motivator is the passion and the people that support something like this. So even just having a great group of people through the peer group exchange, through the different events that, you know, understand and want to support and are ready to connect us. Just today, someone from Libro was like, I'm the head of the BIA in Bell River. And again, what a great opportunity. I'm not just a name on the screen, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not just an email that's being sent. And let's be honest, we all get enough emails. We don't need sometimes, but it highlights and it connects us with the right people that want to get this moving and that want to put in an impact.
Yeah, you know, you'd mentioned something like your backgrounds are in social services or in education or more of the, you know, the touchy-feely kind of spaces. But what we found, and in my work, I've taken courses on social impact or impact types of businesses, and you can make money and still make an impact. In fact, you know, the more you make, the more you're able to do for your community, the more you're able to contribute. And so it's so cool to see that model starting to emerge with this company. And we just know, we really believe in what you're doing and know that it's going to go a really long way in this community. And we're so excited to have played even a small role in that because you're doing so much work to put a spotlight on those small businesses, those micro businesses, and give them a place to eventually grow into, which is really exciting.
Yeah, we're really excited to see what potential we'll have on the Windsor-Essex market. And like you said, hopefully globally one day.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for your trust in this program and our coaches and our organization to help guide you through this incredibly turbulent time in entrepreneurship, but also globally as well. We're so excited to be there for you, and we can't wait to continue.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank you. All right, we'll see you next time.